Hello and welcome to Violin with Paula. I'm Paula and this is Francesco, and we're on week 11 of the Kreutzer challenge. So we're doing also Etude number 11 now in E major. It's going to be another quick one today. So I'm just going to walk you through how I practice this one, and then I'm going to play it, and then that is it. So it's marked andante and it's in cut time, and it's in E major and it's got triplet quavers. So I knew that I wanted it to be quite flowing. This is actually, I think, a really beautiful etude. It's one that when I was a student, about 12 years old, I would practice. And so on. And I'm probably not the only one who's done that, and that is valuable practice, certainly, except that it does kind of numb your mind. So I think it's a really beautiful, very lyrical etude, but it's also quite tricky because it's in E major and there's weird shifts. So let's talk about the technical challenges. First up is left hand position. When we're doing on the violin E, F sharp, G sharp, or on the viola A, maybe C sharp. That's not a hand position that we use that often. I think probably a bit more on the viola actually, because A major is a slightly common key, more common key generally than E major. But we've got the third finger is far from the second and the fourth finger is far from the third. So we're normally used to a hand position that's like that, or that's like that. So there the second and third are close together. But here everything's far apart. So there's just a bit of extra stretch going on. And then we've got a shift to it as well. And then keep it smooth with the string crossing not being too awkward. So the way I practiced it was first of all to set the metronome on to 90, and that was 90 for a quaver. So let's just turn that on and we can see how slow that is. Dial it back up to 90. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's really hard for the bow to go that slowly. And while I'm doing it, it's really important to keep the breath going. So it doesn't need to be a whole breath for a whole bow or a whole bar, but it is really important to breathe and just keep the arm steady and think about the movement from back here. And then I gradually brought it up faster, but what I would do is whenever I could, I would jump down to a slower speed in the metronome. So for example, I would go 90 for the triplet quavers is the same as 30, so then the next step up here would be actually 40, so I would be looking at the crotchet, or quarter note for the Americans. And that shift is so hard. It's okay here, but then you do it again. And at the point, it's the same thing for the left hand and completely different thing for the right hand. So when you're up here, you have to, it really feels like you rotate quite a bit with the fingers, and then here it's more the elbow. So I feel like my elbow slots into place a bit, because you want to make sure that you stay in the string there. It's very easy to come out and do a bounce. So if you find yourself bouncing, raise your elbow a little bit. And then got a bit faster with that, and then as soon as I could, actually brought it to looking at the half bar. So let's just go, let's go 40 again and demonstrate. And that was my overall tempo, but what I actually did when rehearsing it, and I recommend this so highly, as I put it on 20. So this is one single beat for the whole bar. And it works really well with this piece because then you get a big arc and you also really think in big beats. And so on. And doing that on camera is not fun. It's okay if it takes a few bars to settle. And the other thing that I did when practicing this was actually, for most of the time that I had my metronome going, I also had my tuning CD going. And rather than having to stop and individually tune so many things, by starting it slowly and focusing on the bow and the sound, I was able to let my left hand sort of adjust on its own as I went through it. And then there's a few spots where there's just simply you have to do something a bit different with the arm to get a shift right. For example, in bar 22 going into 23, which was horrifically out of tune just now, this shift here up to the E, it's easy to not quite go far enough and you end up with a very flat E. So you just really have to remember to bend the elbow quite a lot. So that is a whistle stop tour through some of the technical issues involved in this. I'm now going to play it for you. I'm going to put the metronome on and we'll see me sort of mostly be with it, occasionally not quite, but that's fine. And then I toyed with the idea of giving a practice track, but I think I probably won't, just because there are so many different tempos you could play this at. But I encourage you to make your own practice track, which would be something like, for the first bar, and you'd play along with that. And you can record yourself doing that. So here is Kreutzer Etude number 11. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next time.